you could just see all the pundits all across America slapping their foreheads and saying, Ben Carson tied with Donald Trump? How come we didn't know about this? It was a poll that kind of rocked the media sphere, the poll from the Des Moines Register and Bloomberg News showing Ben Carson, 23% in Iowa, Donald Trump, 23% in Iowa. There have been other polls showing Carson in second or third place. For example, he's running second in South Carolina behind Trump. How has a guy who's never run for president, a world-renowned neurosurgeon, but with no political experience, doesn't have the big bucks of the Donald, doesn't have the big personality of the Donald, how has he done it? It's fascinating because I've watched Carson develop as a candidate, and in the beginning, boy, he made a lot of rookie media mistakes. He had a tendency to sort of use incendiary phrases and language. Remember when he told CNN's Chris Cuomo that, being gay is a choice because look at the men who go into prison and they come out gay. Or comparing Obamacare to slavery. That may have titillated some people, but it created a bit of a firestorm in each case. And Carson told me in a recent interview that he had learned from those mistakes, and he has not repeated that. He's kind of toned it down. He said that if you use that kind of language, people don't hear you. They don't hear the rest of your answer. At the same time, in a year that there's so much anger at professional politicians and professional media types as well, the hunger for a non-politician, which we see most dramatically manifested in the Trump phenomenon, I think Carson benefits from that as well, except it would be hard to conjure up a character who is more the opposite of Donald Trump than Ben Carson. Soft-spoken, self-effacing, that comes from years of training as a doctor. He knows how to speak to people. I don't think that he is miles deep on some policy questions, but what we will see as the campaign develops. But here's the thing. As Carson has kind of flown under the media radar, he has not really gotten the kind of tough media scrutiny that a front runner or somebody who's among the front runners would ordinarily get. Case in point, there was a disclosure a week or two ago about how Carson, as a doctor back in 1992, had participated in some fetal tissue research. And this appeared to be at odds with his criticism of Planned Parenthood over the harvesting of fetal organs. He says there's a difference. He explains it. But it was kind of a blip of a story. Now, had the press been taking Carson more seriously, that would have been a very big story for days. So I can predict right here, right now, that based on these polls, that we're going to see more pieces looking into Carson's background, his positions, contradictions, things he said. That's part of the obstacle course of running for president. We will have to see how he handles it. But one last point, and that is Carson had a fascinating op-ed in USA Today a week ago. I mean, he's a guy who grew up in a tough neighborhood in Detroit, raised by a single mother. He talked about Black Lives Matter, how he thinks the anger is misdirected, and also how he thinks that both parties, Democrats and Republicans, have not served the black community well. Democrats with too many government programs that create dependency. Republicans by not sort of engaging and listening to African Americans. He's in a unique position to make that argument. And so suddenly, among you can just hear editors and producers saying, "Get me a Ben Carson segment. Get me a Ben Carson story. Carson surges. What's going on?" Well, we'll figure out what's going on and whether the doctor can sustain it.